but everybody sees something different. I mean, I come closest to getting killed in Siagon. Flew the old man down there and landed at Hotel Delta. And he sent a Jeep back for me, and he told me he wasn't going to need me till 4 o'clock, do whatever I wanted to do. Well, aircraft's where it's going to be watched. I don't have to watch it. I'm inside a secure area. Interesting term. You know, when they make a secure area, they never tell the enemy it's secure. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Anyway, so I went with this PFC, and he says, "What do you want to do, sir?" And I says, "Well, I'd like to get something to eat." And he says to me, "Okay." And I says, "Let's go someplace where you can eat." Well, he didn't hear me. So he took me to one of the officers' clubs. And this is a 3-story building. And of course, I don't know where I'm at because I don't know Siagon. And I take one look and I realize it's an O Club. So I says to him, I says, "It's an O Club, you can't come in." I says, "Isn't there a place you know on the economy?" I said, I'll take care of your lunch. I said, "Take us to a place where we can eat." He said, "Oh, okay." So he drives around the corner, and after we went around the corner, somebody with a push cart had put it up in front of the officers' club and blew the front end off the officers' club. If I had been typical officer, I guess typical officer, I don't know what a typical is, but I was raised, you take care of your men. And there have been times where I landed with a Huey when I'm flying with one of the other units and says, "I'll stay with the aircraft," because somebody had to stay, and let everybody else go get lunch. And I'll go later. I was trained, you take care of your men first. And there's an interesting phrase they use, RHIP, rank has its privilege. But I don't think most enlisted men understand. I flew the commander quite often right through meals. Now I could object because I'm a pilot and I have military regulation. And unless it's a life or death combat situation, I'm required to have my meals. He can't fly me through dinner. Mm-hmm. So I had arrangements. I could go to the mess hall and eat anytime I wanted. And that sounds really great until you realize that I'm skipping meals. Or maybe I don't get any meal at all because of what's going on. So then all of a sudden being able to skip in line or get to the front or whatever ain't such a big deal. So a lot of these things where rank has its privilege really ain't no privilege at all. Mm-hmm. It's because of what you're doing, and it's because of the way things are. But I learned early, you get in the military, make friends of the supply sergeant and make friends of the cook. And I flew commanders. So I'm coming back to base, I'd call and say I'm bringing the commander in, call his Jeep, tell him to be here. By the way, call over to the mess hall and tell the cook to meet me at, if he wants to go for a ride. Mm-hmm. We had on our base a 2.5-ton truck with a fuel tank on the back. Now, a Huey burns a gallon of fuel a minute. So if we're fueling that Huey and it runs for 2 hours and 15 minutes, that's quite a number of gallons. So you can, we have dozen smaller aircraft, and you're going to fuel all these. Well, that tank doesn't go a long ways. So you're refueling it every day, sometimes a couple times during the day. Nah. So what we would do is we'd fly over to Camp Holloway, over the Air Force Base. We'd refuel over there because they have the big ground bladders and stuff like that and the pumps. Then we'd fly back, put it in the revetment. We'd just top the tank off. Mm-hmm. Well, if you mind if I go over and refuel? Well, you take a ride around Pleiku? No, you're going for your carnival ride, right? So I got trading material left and right. You're going to go with the cook, you're going to go with the supply sergeant, mm-hmm. have them take their camera, fly them around their base, fly them around Pleiku, anything special you want to see, fly them around there. Mom gets a kick out of me talking. The Vietnamese, Orientals, communal showers, baths, stuff like that, is quite acceptable in their country. And there was a river junction out there in the rice paddies where they used to go swimming. It was a local bathing hole. And it was on the way if you're low level and going around town. And the girls would stand up there on the bank and wave at you. They weren't wearing bikinis. And the guy, whoa, whoa, go back and circle that way. You know? If you circle them, the girls just love it. They'll sit and wave at you all day long, you know. And the guys just love stuff like that, but it was very different. So different to the point where you talked about being observant and that. I can remember I'm covering out there, and there's a mom and son. Every evening, we'd go around our base and look for anything different. One ship was assigned to do that. And you go out and you go out and you look for anything different. And I'm out around one night, and there's this guy and this gal, and figure they're a couple. She's obviously pregnant, and they're working their rice paddies. And you come by the next night, she ain't there, he's there. Come back the next night, and she's there, he's there, and here's this little bundle on the rice paddy dike. I mean, it's like you get to know some of the people. It's funny because you see them everywhere. It's like funny stuff. When the weather's bad, we were trained to fly instruments, and that's IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. But we didn't do it. And if it was acceptable at all, we went down the road. Now you're 6 inches off the highway and doing 125 miles an hour and just hugging the highway. And you come down the highway like that, and here's be some little guy on his little 90cc moped, right? And he's looking at you, and you're going, "Hey, pay attention to the road," and he zoop in the ditch. Look just like laughing. They go, we didn't win any friends. You know, and you do whatever you want, tell him to watch the road, and he's looking at you, and he in the ditch. And I pick up and go over him. I ain't gonna hit him, but it's one of the things you remember of him running down the highway. You know, we hear, I was in a college class, finance, and the guy next to me is a retired engineer, captain, lieutenant colonel. And they brought up about poor. And I says, we don't have any poor. And the class was 2/3 female and 2/3 black. And they just levitated. And how can you say such a thing? And they're just, I've been in a number of third world countries, and our poor live better than the top 10% in those countries. I don't remember in Siagon seeing many cars, or in Pleiku. But them little mopeds going everywhere, and man, how you get 4 or 5 people on a moped? They got them. And if they got this pig in a basket they're bringing, he's on the moped. And how they get that, I don't know how they do it, but it's just, it's a different world. And we just have no concept of how good we got it. Matter of fact, I sat one night on my bunk thinking it was the first time that everything I owned went into a B4 bag in my briefcase.
All right.
And I was living well.